Sierra, it's all you, club.
First overview. The act creates the mindset that we must conquer space first because other countries are different than us. We need to reject this representation to avoid endless war. That was from McDonald 7. And counterinterpretation. First, we meet their interpretation because we are defending a competitive policy alternative to the plan. And counterinterpretation, the negatives to the test that for representations. First, because of fairness, the representations are intrinsic to the advantages and real world unpredictable. The act can choose what representations they can defend. And education, they also rethink of how we engage space. This allows for more diverse ways of thinking than just in a policy framework. And on per do without the representations. First, this is severing the plan, which is a voter one because of moving target acceptance allows the 1AC to shift advocacy and kill net grounded strategy and time skew. We'd have to prepare an entirely new strategy for the block, and the 2AC doesn't have to justify all the plan. And 3, education, there's no educational value if they hit parts of the plan. And their Weaver 98 is in terms of terrestrial politics, not engagement of space. Space is different because there's no universal governance there, and it's not possible. The plan is inseparable from the discourse of conventional geopolitics, worded in 6. The fields of foreign policy and security studies are discursive space is structured by contests between the specialists and experts which competed for the acquisition of knowledge and resources that grant them authority and legitimacy. The language of policy making does not simply reflect real policy issues and problems intended. It actively reduces the issues with policymakers deal with the specific problems that they confront. And on perm do both. This is impossible. We can't do all the plan while rejecting the logic of security in the 1AC. So either they grant us the links or they sever, which is bad cross-the above. And specifically going on to the links. First, on the McDonald and 7, we aren't denying threats, just how the act is constructing them, which makes them makes space the new Persian Gulf. And U.S. moon base becomes a gatekeeper to deny other nations access. The moon becomes a new Persian Gulf with helium-3 as a natural resource, and U.S. hegemony is spread into outer space through the establishment of the moon base, Gongan 6. There's long been a military connection to NASA's moon missions, and the NASA plan to establish permanent bases on the moon, which will help military control and dominate access on and off our planet Earth, and determine who will extract valuable resources from the moon in the years ahead. The military maintain that the lunar outpost is required to develop and protect the potential United States interests on the moon. Any military operation on the moon will be difficult to counter by the enemy because of the difficulty of his reaching the moon, and the moon has remarkable helium-3 and could be used for fusion power. If we ignore the potential of this remarkable fuel, the nation could slip behind the race for the control of the global economy and our destiny behind. In the end, the NASA plan to establish a permanent base on the moon will help the military control and dominate access on and off our planet and determine who will extract valuable resources from the moon in the years ahead. And this directly applies to the advantages. First, because of global warming. The mechanism of how they solve global warming is by being the first to obtain helium-3 and maintain U.S. superiority. Empirically, races for resources cause war like oil in the Middle East. This war makes global warming even worse. And colonization. The goal of the act is to have the first lunar base in order to have control over the resources there. Colonization of America proves that the violence that result from this. Also, their Boston 3 contends that the only ones going to get off the rock are rich white elites causing ethnocentrism and nuclear terrorism in China. This represents terrorists in China as threats to the American way of life, and that we must stop them through war. And on a realism. First, therefore, Mearsheimer 1 parts are referring to realism in terms of international relations. However, the criticism is of how we engage space, and this evidence assumes engagement of Earth. But 1NC MacDonald explains the space is ruled by a treaties of the borders that cause engagement of the SWO don't apply, and space has no geography. It has been constructed through discourse around exploration. MacDonald 7. Writings on astrology were clearly part of geography because early and modern heritage movements of the stars being afforded significance in the outcome of worldly affairs. Geography of outer space is a logical distinction of the earlier geographies of imperial explorations. Space exploration has used exactly the same discourse, the same rationales, and even the same institutional frameworks like its terrestrial counterpart. The movement of space has its origin of older imperial enterprises. Space exploration has been about familiar terrestrial and ideological struggles here on Earth, and the also reasons why realism is inevitable in space. We reject the idea that realism extends into space, therefore getting rid of it. That was the McDonald and 7, and they can't win offense. Their transition wars arguments assume a world of earthly realism. However, realism can't exist in space because there are no borders or governance. And going on to the alt can solve the case because it does the plan just without the security representation. And this one case is a stepping stone for stopping this discourse in the future. And the alternative is to rethink the ways in which we engage space, which avoids war while engaging in space cooperating for the good of all. McDonald 7. Critical geopolitics must urgently consider the new axis in order to challenge the practices and assumptions of oversight. It must lift its gaze to the politics of the overhead. There is a scope for a wider agenda on the translation of particular earthly historical geographies into space, just as there was the translation of earlier occidental geographies onto imperial spaces. When Donald Rumsfeld talks of a space world, however, there is plainly a particular set of historical geographical imageries at work that give precedence. There lurks the suggestion of a threat from the east. All this is a reminder of the colonization of space, rather than being a decisive and transcendent break from the past, is merely an extension of long-standing regimes of power.